Alright, hello everyone, my name is Chris, and right now I'm going to give you a very basic overview of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 basic tools in Adobe Premiere Pro. I have a timeline here open already. This is a project I was working on from a road trip that I've been on the past 4 months. This video is also in my channel if you want to check it out. It's all like the Grand Canyon, Utah, cool stuff. Anyways, let me get rid of my, or collapse my library panel, and let's just get as much timeline as we can in here. Zoom in, just so you can see what we're doing here. And I'm going to kind of go through these tools one by one, starting with like the ones that I use the most, and show you how they can be used in like a practical sense when you're editing. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the selection tool. This is normally what is selected by default when you open up Premiere. And for everybody new to Premiere, it is the most basic tool. You can select a clip, you can move it up a layer, down a layer, across a layer. When the arrow is black, you are moving it. When the arrow is red, you can trim the clip on both sides until you know it's what you want it to be. And that is pretty much it. You can drag and select a number of clips. Do the same thing. Move them up, move them down, move them down, move them across. And that's pretty much it with the selection tool. Very basic tool. That's the one you probably use the most. The one that I use probably the second most is the razor tool. I'm going to get back in, or I'm going to get into these tools here in a second, but the razor tool is what I use probably the second most, and all that is you're just cutting a clip. See, you can see here this is all one clip up here, but it is two pieces down here. They're now separate. Sometimes I'll use that if a clip is too long and I just need to cut it in half or whatever it is. That is the razor tool. Very basic again. The one that I use probably the third most is this pen tool. The pen tool makes keyframes along any audio track. It used to also be in the video tracks in the earlier versions of Premiere. There used to be a line just like this on the video tracks if you expand them, but now there's not. And the lines in the video tracks used to be for opacity, but now you do that in the effect controls up here. You make keyframes there. But as far as using this on the timeline for this edition, I think this is 2016. Basically, you make a point on this line. In case you can't see, there is a line in the middle of this track. And you can make a point on that line, and what you're saying is at that point I want the volume at that level. And then you can make a point down here and say at this point I want the volume at this level. So in between these keyframes, the audio is going to get quieter all the way down to negative 9.14 decibels, or basically 9 decibels lower than 0, which is normal volume. And you can do a lot of different things with the keyframes. You just have to remember that whatever point you have, that just means that at that point it's going to be at that volume. So I could drag this up to here, and I have 4 points here. One starts at normal, one, then it's going to get quieter, then it's going to get a lot louder than normal, then it's going to go, we could drag this back to relatively normal volume. And that's how those work. That's probably the third most used tool that I use. Okay, and then we're going to go into these, I wouldn't say more advanced, but just a little more confusing tools that I don't use very often, but they can be useful. So this track select forward, I'm going to show you what this does as a shortcut in relation to the selection tool. If I want to move a bunch of clip segments at once, I can click and drag, and of course move them just like so. This tool is a shortcut for that. it says I can click right here and everything to the right of that will move with me. So kind of a shortcut of doing the click and drag using the selection tool. The track select backward tool is sort of the opposite. It means everything from this clip and left I can move forward or backwards. And that would basically be the equivalent of using the selection tool and doing something like this and dragging like that. So it's kind of a shortcut. I never really think to use it. I think it's pretty simple to just do something like that. Doesn't really take but half a second. But if you have a lot of clips or something and you want to move all of them at once, you can use the track select backward or forward tool. The ripple edit tool is sort of confusing. I'm going to try and explain it the best I can. But I'll play this clip just as a demonstration, this little part here. So I kind of tilt down and sort of walk into an arch. Now, if I were using the selection tool and I wanted to trim this down, I could trim it down, but now I'm left with this gap. And you can, close that gap by selecting all these and moving them, or you can click in between the space and press delete. The ripple selection tool, is that what this one is? Yes, the ripple edit tool will do that all in one step. So I can drag to here and it will just close that gap for me and replace that first frame with wherever I cut it to. I don't use that one a whole lot. Like I said, it's just the same as doing this and pressing delete. It's a bit of a shortcut, I guess. I don't really use it a whole lot, but that's how it works. The rate stretch tool is basically the same as if you've ever done slow motion or speeding a video up. You can do it by right-clicking on a clip and saying speed duration, and you can change this amount. 200% would be 200% faster, 50% would be 50% slower. And I'm going to show you what happens if we do, let's say 25% slower. Watch what happens to this clip. It's now gotten 4 times longer because it's 25% slower. It's a little counterintuitive, but if you think about it, lower percentage means slower clip, but so it's a lot slower, as you can tell. The rate stretch tool will do the same thing. You can drag it, and this is, instead of by percentage, you can do it by duration. So I've now dragged it, and I actually almost hit 25% on the dot somehow. But now the clip is 25% slower, but I didn't do the right click to the what do they call it? Speed and duration effect. It's all right here in this tool called rate stretch. The slip tool, using the slip tool, this one's a little confusing, but I'm going to try and explain it the best I can here. If I take this clip right here, you can see everything that's going on in it. If I pull from the left side, you have to pull from the left or right, or I guess anywhere in between. Yep, anywhere on the clip. I'm basically setting the start point. If I pull it all the way left, you'll notice that it starts from way back here. He's starting in the center of the screen now. Then he comes to the left, and I don't even get to see that pan up that I originally had. So I'm basically rewinding just a little bit the start point of this clip. And if I drag the opposite way, I'm basically fast forwarding the start point of this clip in the timeline. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. It's a little confusing, and that's one of the reasons I don't really use this one a lot. The rolling edit tool basically says if I click the beginning of this clip and I drag it all the way to here, not only will it trim that clip, but it will extend the length of the clip before, or say the clip after, so that it meets the beginning or end of that clip. So like if we use the selection tool and I did this, again we have that gap, but with the rolling edit tool this gap is filled with the rest of this. and vice versa. If I were to trim it backward, this clip would meet it on the back end. Then you have the hand tool. The hand tool, basically you can click anywhere and drag and move your way along the timeline. I really don't use the hand tool either. I just press minus and plus on the keyboard, and I just click to where I want to go. I think that's a little faster than, you know, zooming in and dragging all the way over. But if that's what you like to do, you can do that too. You can use the hand tool. The last one is the zoom tool. What the zoom tool does is it zooms in, and that is exactly what I was talking about with the plus and minus tool. If you press Alt or Option, you can zoom out, I believe. Should be able to, yes. And then if I let go, I can zoom back in, but like I said, I just use the plus and minus on the keyboard to do that. So there you go. That is the basic overview of all the default tools that come with Premiere Pro. There may be some more tools if you download some kind of plugin, but that's what comes with the program at its most basic level. But yeah, there you go. Play around with Premiere, get used to those tools. They're all meant to help you, and happy editing.